Yes, my name is Antonia. I'm 19 years old and I'm from Germany. Right now, I'm here in a one-year sustainability program called Food to Heal. And we do different things. We have different courses and also presentations regarding topics concerning the environment and living in a more sustainable way. And besides this, we also have like practical experiences. For example, we just did a study trip to Morocco where we decided to investigate about the water scarcity. Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yes, my name is Anne. I am also from Germany and I'm in the same program as Antonia. So we went on the study trip together and we would like to share our results with you.
Yes, so we will just share our screen.
Antonia. So we went on the study trip together and we would like to share our results with you.
There we go. Okay. Present. Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
Amazing. Yes. So today we would like to talk about water justice, or more like water injustice. Maybe. Yeah. As we told you, we went to Morocco about 3 weeks ago, and we decided to investigate about different topics. And one of the topics was water justice. So we want to tell you what we found out, and then in the end, we also want to introduce you to a summer camp that we will host in the end of July.
Yes, first, here is a map of Morocco. So Morocco is located in northwestern Africa, and it is bordered by the Atlantic Ocean in the west and the Mediterranean Sea in the north. And there are two important mountain ranges in Morocco. Can you see my cursor? Hope so. In the center, we have the Atlas Mountains, and in the north, we have the Rif Mountains. And they divide Morocco into three geographic regions. So in the west, we have the Atlantic lowlands, and in the center, we have the mountainous interior. And then in the southeast, we have the arid areas where the mountains descend into the Sahara Desert, and arid means that it's very dry.
Yes, so as you can see, what Anna just told you, Morocco has different parts of Morocco also have different climates. And actually what we did when we went to Morocco, we visited different places because we also wanted to know about the difference in the situation of the people there. And maybe some of you don't really know what an investigation is. So basically, before we went to Morocco, we thought about topics that we are very interested in, and we wanted to learn more about the water problem there. So we thought of questions, and then when we went there, we talked to different people. So for us, it was important to really hear about the situation of the people and how they are affected. So we didn't just want to research in the internet and see what the internet tells us, but we really wanted to know what the people tell us. So we visited a project that was located in the south, and it was owned by Linda and Said. And then we also visited a different project in a different city where we talked to the owners and also different other local people. But yeah, you will hear more about the different places we visited.
Exactly. Our first stop was the oasis at the edge of the Sahara. As Antonia already said, it is owned by Linda and Said, who are a Dutch-Moroccan couple, and it is located in a very dry region of Morocco. And their aim is to create an oasis that is filled with plants and animals where they can grow their own food. And they also want to expand the traditional mud house that they have there, which is over 200 years old. Here is another map where you can see Tagonit, which is the city where the project is located. And here you can see pictures. On the left is the house, And on the right, you can see us while we were there, how we were making the mud bricks.
Yes. So yeah, we talked with Linda and Said, who told us a lot about their situation. And actually what we found out is that they do struggle a lot with the lack of water. Also, they could observe like a huge change in the last years because in 2022 there was a very bad drought, and since then it has gotten more and more dry. A few years ago they still had rain for like only a couple of days a year, so only for 2 to 3 days a year. But now this year when we visited, they didn't have any rain at all. Also, they actually would like to grow their own vegetables, and as Anna told you, the aim is to create a green oasis. So they want to have plants, but it's not possible for them because they don't have enough water. Without the water, they have no chance to do agriculture. Another problem is that they don't really get any support to deal with this problem because, as Said told us, he doesn't really feel like the government tries to help them in the situation to fight the water shortage.
Yes, so if you are there, you of course need to save water. And there were different ways on how we did it. So in Tagonit, we didn't have any tap water. So if we wanted to, for example, take a shower, then we needed to use a bucket and get some water from a big water tank. And then we could take a smaller bucket to wash our bodies. And then another very important point was to reuse the water again and again. So for example, after we took a shower, we had to pick up the water again and then use it to flush the toilet, because that of course also is not electrical. And we could also use the water to water the plants. And another example is that, for example, when we boiled eggs, afterwards, we use that water to wash the vegetables, and then we use the water again to water the plants or flush the toilet.
Yes. So they definitely didn't waste any water at all. And that's also because they don't have so much. And we asked them how do they get their water? And because the south of Morocco is very dry, most of their water actually comes through canals from the north of Morocco. And also every few weeks they receive government water. So that means they receive water from a thin pipe. But this also is only for a couple of hours. And which was quite shocking for me is that they told us if they would miss these couple of hours every about 2 weeks, then they would not get any more water. So they would need to wait another 2 weeks to get more water. Another problem is that this water that they receive, so it's from a local tower, and the tower distributes water to many different villages. However, the water is not filtered. So that means it contains a lot of lime, which is again can be problematic for their health because it can also cause kidney stones. Because they struggle with this system, they also are in the process of building their own well. However, this is actually quite difficult because they need to dig very, very deep because the water they have for now is actually salty. The groundwater is salty. So that means they need to get a drill to dig very deep to get good water that they can use. So that's also why they are still looking to fund the project because it's very expensive. Yes. And all of this, of course, also has consequences for the people living there because of the lack of water, there's no possibility for them to do agriculture or grow their own plants. This also means there are less job opportunities. That's why especially the young people decide to leave the area and go to the bigger cities. For example, Said told us that many of his friends he knew, they decided to leave, but he decided to stay there because he wanted to keep the project going. But it's a very tough job because of the water shortage. And that's also why many of the water is put to the bigger cities. And then the people also go where the water is because there are more possibilities. And then the villages on the countryside have a lot of problems. Yes, and here you can see a picture from the oasis. So on the left, you can see there were a lot of date palms, and these date palms actually were very dry because there hasn't been any rain in this year.
Yes, and if you would like to know more about the oasis and what they're doing and how you could support them and maybe volunteer there yourself, here you can see their Instagram and their website. If you scan the QR code, you will also get to the website. And if you would like to support them financially, here are also their bank details. So maybe take a picture or scan the QR code, and then we will continue. The next stop on our travel was a city called Tingir. It is further up north than Tagulid. And in Tingir, they have a big water reservation because the city is closer to the Atlas Mountains, and there's a river that is running through the city that comes from the mountains. So they can receive fresh water from a local irrigation system and many wells. But they also noticed a big change in the last 5 years because they didn't have any rain or snow. And here are some pictures. On the left, you can see our co-volunteer Abhishek, how he's drinking water from one of the wells because the water there is drinkable. In the center is the river that runs through the city. And on the right is me. Here we are further up from the river, so closer to the mountains. And there the water is also drinkable, so I could fill up my water bottle.
Yes. Then we also visited the local water project, which was located in Tingir. And the aim of the project also is to grow palm and date trees. So they want to create a green space. And the concept looks like this. So it's a very big area. And then the area is divided into different parts. And these different parts belong to different owners that live in the village. So this way it benefits the village because the people have the opportunity to go there and grow their own plants. And however, the project also realizes that the water is decreasing in the last years. So they also told us that they have different measures to save the water. For example, they don't irrigate their crops every day, but only every couple of days. And also they have a smart way of irrigating their crops because they have like the system where there's a pipe for all the plant and then every single plant is a hole. So this way they save the water. Yes, and here you can also see a picture. So most of the plants in the project were date palms and olive trees. And also on the left, there's a picture of the building, and you can see that there are many, many international partners supporting the project.
Yes, and our last step was Marrakesh. Marrakesh is one of the biggest cities in Morocco, and therefore it is very touristic. And because of that, they have sufficient clean and drinkable water. Because, as we said earlier, a lot of the water is relocated to the bigger cities because that is where the tourists are. And the tourists have money, and therefore they create job opportunities and are very important for the economy. But the tourists need a lot of water for showers in the hotels or for pools. So that's why the water is put there.
Yes. So all of these informations we just told you, we got from talking to the people. And when we also asked the people what they think are like the major causes of the water scarcity. And they told us, of course, it's droughts and also the climate change, but because the temperatures are rising. But they also realized that one of the biggest problem is the human consumption of water. And besides that, we use a lot of water for tourism. One other problem in Morocco is that they also use a lot of water for agriculture. So in Morocco, there's a big industry with date palms and also olive trees. But another thing they cultivate a lot are watermelons and also avocados. And actually, Morocco is one of the major producers and also exporters of watermelons and avocados. And these crops are actually very, very water intensive, which is problematic because Morocco struggles with water shortage. And so if you want to produce a watermelon or an avocado, you have a very high consumption of virtual water. So to shortly explain what virtual water means, it's basically the water that is used during the production of the crop. So for example, if you want to grow a watermelon, you need to water it so that it grows. So it's all the water that the plant needs to grow. And now we wanted to find out how much is it actually that these plants need to grow? How much virtual water do they need? And we want to ask you, what do you think? How much water is needed to produce one avocado? Do you have any ideas? You can just unmute and
Say your guess.
say your guess.
100 liter.
100 liters. Any
Okay,
other
good
guesses?
guess.
I thought my first thought was maybe 10 liters per day, or I didn't get the question maybe right.
How much water do you need to completely produce one avocado?
So not per day, but in total from start when you plant the
Yes.
plant until the harvest. How much water do you need to put there so that you have one avocado?
Then maybe 1,000 liters.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think that's more right. I missed a zero, I think, so closer to 1,000, I think that's right.
Okay.
1,000.
1,000, that's a lot of water for one single avocado.
I think 170.
Okay. Good. So we researched, and what we found out that you need about 320 liters to
So-
produce.
Karin, you were actually quite close.
Yes. But then we also wanted to know, what about watermelon? Because watermelons contain a lot of water, actually, 90%. But how much do you need to produce one like regular watermelon, which weighs about 5 kilograms? What do you think?
500 liters.
500?
500?
Yes.
5 kilogram?
Any other guesses?
Do you have a guess, Sarah?
No people.
400, just to make it different.
500.
400.
600. I bid 600.
Okay. Any last guess? No. Okay, actually Sarah was closest. It's 1,775 liters
Oh my god.
to produce
one.
one, not very big, like a regular watermelon. Yeah. And as you can see, that's a lot of money. So it's a big problem in Morocco because these industries use up a lot of money that then lacks in other regions.
Damn.
So the current situation, what we researched is that in 2015, Morocco had 645 cubic meters of water per year per person available. But below 1,000 cubic meters means that there is water scarcity. So 1,000 cubic meters of water per year per person is seen as the international water poverty line. And if this amount falls below 500, then it's extreme water scarcity. And Morocco might reach that by 2050. And another big problem is that they have their 6th consecutive year of drought. So they had a 67% drop in rainfall, and the country's water reservoirs are only at 23.5% of their capacity. And that is because since there is not a lot of rain, the water source that the people rely on is the groundwater. But because so much water is needed for agriculture, especially of those water-intensive crops, and tourism and also the people themselves, there are more and more wells, and there is more groundwater taken than there can be regenerated. And because of that, the groundwater level sinks, and then the seawater can intrude the groundwater and make it salty. And if the water is salty, you cannot use it for agriculture or drinking.
Yeah, and that's actually the same problem we also could observe in Pagonit, so the oasis we visited, because even though they are trying to build their own well, the water that they get from the well is salty. So they cannot use the water to drink or to do agriculture. They would actually need to dig 80 meters deep only to get fresh water that they can use. 80 meters, that's extremely deep. Yes, of course, the people are also not happy with the situation. So there were some online campaigns that tried to change the situation and stop the cultivation of these very water-intensive crops. And then there also was a change in this year where there was a very bad drought in 2022. Because before that, the government actually gave money to the companies to grow the watermelon, but then they stopped giving money to also stop the companies from taking that much water. And then there was also more restrictions. So for example, now the producers are not allowed to produce watermelons close to places where people get the groundwater to drink. Yes, and here you can actually see the picture on the left is from February 2021, and the picture from the right is from February 2022. So you can really see an extremely big change in only 1 year, that the landscape is getting much, much drier and the situation is getting worse. Yes. So in conclusion to our investigation, we found a quote from a professor at a university in Morocco, and it summarizes our conclusion quite well. And he says that as a society, we need not consume produce out of its regular season. I can go without avocados, but I cannot survive without water. And we also think that this actually is one of the biggest problems, that the priority is not on the well-being of the people like Said and Linde, who need the water really to survive and to fill their basic needs, but that the water is given to water-intensive agriculture like avocado and watermelon that are then used for export, or also given to big cities like Marrakesh that then have an abundancy and they can use it for tourism. However, people in the south of Morocco struggle a lot, so there's a very unequal distribution. What we also definitely realized when we were living in the project is that we here in Europe, how we do it, are extremely privileged in the way we access water, because it's not like that for everyone, that you can just open the tap and get as much and especially clean water as you need.
Yes, so we have observed the question, and we also want to ask it to you. What can we do to help and support the people in those dry regions? So do you have any ideas?
Yes.
Yay!
I don't know, I think I would think twice about buying watermelons and avocados that are imported from countries where I know that this drought is a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lorena also thinks the same. She wrote into the chat, stop eating avocados.
Nice.
Yes.
Actually, I'm also thinking the same because I watched a documentary about growing avocado in, I think, Peru, or I don't recall the country, but one of the Latin American countries, and they had the same problem.
Mm,
Yes.
something else. I don't know.
Actually, I have a question. It is just about the oasis. Why Linda and Saeed decided to have this project and keep it going, regardless all the difficulties they have.
Actually, it's a very brave decision, I think. But as Saeed told us, he actually grew up in the desert, so he's kind of native to this area where he lives now. So it's kind of like his home. And also, it's like I think it's a project like of his heart. So he knows that it's very difficult, and he understands why many people leave the area. But it's really important for him because he thinks that it is important to keep this projects going, to not abandon all of these houses. Like he wants to make it a home again.
Yes, the house where he and Linda live in has been standing there for over 200 years, and it belonged to his family. So he also has a lot of childhood memories from there and doesn't just want to give it up, but hopes that it can be like a nice and lively place again.
If we come back to the solution, I don't know about us, like what can we do, but maybe thinking about food engineering to make some products is which consume less water. It's essential thing, as well as maybe changing the component of the soil itself, because sand soil is really consuming a lot of water, and it's not consuming but like it goes so deep. And if we change somehow the component of the soil, it might allow us to keep growing plants somehow. And the other thing, and actually I'm not so sure about this, but um, what about the hydraulic planting? Because maybe if we can use this water, which is in the cycle for the hydraulic planting, this might be a good idea for keeping the plant growing. So I'm not so sure about this, but I was thinking about this hydraulic planting like few years ago. I did not continue my research, but I think like if this water can be reused all the time in the cycle, I think it will be good idea.
Yes. Also, many people we actually talked to, they also think, I mean, Morocco also has a big industry with date palms and olive trees, and these trees are actually not that water intensive. So they should actually focus on growing these trees that they actually have the water for and that do not consume too much, than to grow watermelons and avocado that then waste a lot of water that cannot be used anymore.
But yeah, I can understand actually this, but it's economically not possible because it needs the country itself to decide what they want to do. Like, the politicians, and it's not so easy for them to change. Also, the fact is that the tourists need water. This is true, and I totally understand the decision of giving more water to this because tourism is a huge resource. But maybe we can increase this knowledge among the tourists and make them understand that they are really consuming a lot of water, even more than the inhabitants itself, more than the plants, and we can encourage them to try kind of exotic experience when they go to these countries, just to live different life, maybe.
Yes, we thought the exact same thing. And this is where the whole thing comes back to us. Because if we are the tourists that go to a country like Morocco that doesn't have so much water, then we should think carefully about how we use the water. So, for example, if you're in a hotel, you should not take super long showers, and you should not let the tap keep running because the water is just not there to do that.
Yeah. Also, one of the main problems is also often golf fields. Actually, Saeed told us that he's very frustrated because he knows that a lot of water goes into these golf fields for the tourists that also consume a lot of water, while he likes the water.
Good.
I mean, but what you said, it's not only about when you go to these countries, but it should be also for us here living in Europe.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, that too. because as we all know, climate change is a global problem. So it does, of course, not only affect the countries that are already dry, but also like the European countries like Denmark, where we are right now. And yeah, because of that, it will also, the climate will also change here. And some, especially the southern European countries, already struggle with water scarcity. And from now on, it will only get worse. So, of course, it's also a very smart idea to save water in Europe, even if it doesn't seem so severe yet, because it will get worse.
And also it's somehow connected with the migration problem in Europe, because in many countries in Europe now they don't like migration, but there are actually climate migration. They are moving because of the unliving situation of climate in their countries. So, like especially in Egypt, we had some from Sudan, because it's not actually before the war started. It's because of the climate change in Sudan, which already destroyed all their living resource. So that's why basically a lot of people are moving, because you mentioned that there is lack of opportunities of work. And yes, this is true. And once people are migrated from one place, it is not so easy to bring them back. So, and also I believe that even in these places, just imagine if it's not for agriculture, it is um, for a factory. Will the government will act the same? Because I think that governments would like to bomb a lot of water in for industrial practices, not agricultural practices, which is also so unfair, because they don't think that agriculture is required, at least because for money making, which is a great problem in our country in Middle East, because Egypt also did the same. They basically did not really focus on agriculture, and after COVID and the war in Ukraine, actually Egypt is really suffering because of the lack of food products, because what we used to produce in like 100 years we are not able to produce now, and we need all to export it, which make a real crisis now in Egypt. Of course, it's not severe yet, but it will be very soon.
Yes. Thank you.
Is it okay if I have a question?
Of course.
Or like I wonder, maybe it's a question and answer. Maybe I'm a bit naive, and also I was slightly disconnected sometimes from the Zoom. But I was wondering, what about water technology? So we have shortage of water, but what about using desalination? I know it's relatively energy intensive, but taking into like taking in mind that you have here like a country with quite a lot of potential solar energy, desalination might increase drastically because you have, of course, like you have a lot of the ocean and you have the Mediterranean, so you have quite a lot of water there. Are they exploring this direction? Do you think, am I naive and I'm missing something? Yeah.
What we know is that for now, that the people we talk to, they don't have any any information about this. So actually, when we were at the project, we had the idea that we could somehow regenerate more water, and we tried to build our own little desalination system. But there's like no technology yet available, especially in the project we visited. But it sounds like a solution that could be possible. But I also know that it's, I think, quite expensive, and you need a lot of financial means for that. So I don't know yet if it's a possibility to do it in Morocco.
Yeah, and
I didn't. Sorry, I didn't mean in a project level. Of course, I don't think like a small project can do desalination. I meant more on the state level. And I know it's not super cheap, but at the end, it saves a lot. To get a lot of water. I don't know what's the policy of Morocco. I just was wondering because it seems that they have the potential. And maybe they need financial help from other countries to do that, yeah. And then we need to think globally. But that's what my direction of thought is.
Yeah, we also think that desalination could maybe be an option, but no one of the people we talked to said anything about it. And we only talk to the people, so we are not professionals on the topic of water in Morocco. So we do not know what the government plans to do. So yeah,
But
we
it's-
cannot give you information on that.
Can I?
Yeah.
I have just one question about your next step for this. Are you going to maybe meet some politicians from these areas? Like, I don't know if Morocco has a parliament, but are you planning to interview and know what is the plans from the governmental side?
We are back in Denmark now, so we are not in Morocco anymore. Our study trip ended. And because we are not in the DNS program, we are only in a 1-year sustainability program. We don't have the time or the resources to properly dive into that topic. So we will not get in contact with Moroccan politicians. But Zaha wanted to say something about desalination, I think.
Yes, I think it might have to do with the priorities of the government. Because if we look at the situation now and it is already bad, and they are not changing things in the way they do agriculture or tourism, then why invest so much money in a technology that would help something that apparently they don't care enough about to solve?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, also we only know what also the people told us, and they also told us that they feel like the government doesn't really care enough to help them. So they don't really have financial support. They don't even have financial support, even though they have such a severe situation. So maybe Sarah is right, and the government really does not have enough interest. But that's actually something that we could research more about and try to find more information about. It's true.
Karen has something to say.
Yes.
Oh, we cannot see it. Maybe you can read it for us.
I just checked on Google because I've heard about a big project. And in Morocco, if you Google solar cells in Morocco, you can see they have made some experiments, but it's one of a kind and it's a very big, and it's a government. I don't know how they have done it, but just to say that they are working with it. I know that they are working with it. So if you Google solar cells in Morocco, you find this little article. Okay. But it was a good question to find out if the government had plans. I think one thing we can do is to take more care about our environment here. And also, I think it was very important what this Miriam, or it was said about there will be a lot of climate refugees coming, and that means it will have an impact everywhere in the world. So it's good we are aware, and it's good we find ways. And I think it's one of the things I think is very important is that we find ways to deal with the climate changes in our own part of the world and make food security.
Yeah.
And then information. I think we have a peace justice conference in May about teaching for peace. And one of the peace questions is if people have food. It's so important. If we don't have food or water and houses, then we will have wars all over.
Yeah, we also think that it's very important to focus on ourselves and what we can do, because we don't have any power to influence the Moroccan government, but we can make sure that in our country and in our daily lives, we don't make it worse. So, for example, by thinking twice about buying avocados or watermelons, and maybe using regional and seasonal fruits and vegetables instead, And if you're a tourist, being mindful also in your own life, not using too much water. And because there's many more problems in the world, not just water scarcity, there's a lot of small things that you can do in your daily life to help the environment and therefore also help with climate change and help the people. So we decided that we want to do a summer camp. It will be from the 4th to the 13th of July here in Twente, so in Denmark. And the title will be Everyday Sustainability.
Yes, so we really want to focus on the impact we have in our everyday life. And what the idea behind the camp is that we want to inspire people and also ourselves to challenge and also change our daily habits. So we think that in our everyday life, we hear a lot about climate change and what big companies do that is wrong or what governments could do better. But it's not so easy that we can change it. So we really want to find ways of what we can do. So the idea behind the camp is to really take responsibility in our own lives and find more sustainable ways to navigate through our everyday life. So yeah, in the camp, we want to discover new solutions on the small scale. So what you will do is that we plan to have about 15 young adults in the camp. And if you will join the camp, you will live, cook, of course, enjoy your free time and also learn together. So you will have many discussions about new solutions, be able to exchange your own ideas or go on investigations. And then we want to also give new input in workshops, games, courses, presentations about different topics regarding sustainability. And at the same time, we also want to give some practical experience. So you will go different places, visit places, explore different things. But Anne will tell you more about that.
Yes. Besides, of course, water, which we can dive into more detail during the camp, we also thought about other topics. So we would like to talk about fast fashion and, as a practical action, upcycle old clothes. Then we want to talk about renewable energy, and there it's very practical because we have our own windmill here in Twente, which is actually the oldest still running windmill in the world, and we could visit it and learn about it. Then we want to learn about biodiversity, and for that we would like to explore the local biodiversity here and build an insect hotel. We would like to investigate the dairy industry and visit a local milk farm, talk about sustainable agriculture and visit our garden where we do garden farming together with Karin. And also we would like to talk about the fishing industry, ocean pollution, and of course healthy food and food waste. And we would like to think about it and cook all of our meals ourselves. Here are some pictures of what it might look like. So on the left, you can see me and one of our students, how we're sewing. In the center is an insect hotel, like what we would like to build. And on the right, you can see Twintkraft, our windmill. So yes, I hope you might are interested in our summer camp. Feel free to contact us with our email or on our phones. And if you scan the QR code, you will get to the website where you can also read more information. And yeah, we also have 7 minutes left. So if you have any questions about the camp or about our investigation in Morocco, feel free to ask them.
I don't have question, but I just would like to say that it's really good that you are going to talk about fast fashion, because also the industry of producing clothes is already water consuming as well, and Morocco is one of the countries which really working in this industry. So like if you are going to Zara, you can find a lot of stuff produced in Morocco. so it is also water consuming. And of course, like for me, once I moved to Europe and I started to be educated regarding this water shortage problem, I started always to get my clothes from secondhand just to reduce my own consumption of this thing.
Yes, that's completely true.
Yes.
Are there any more questions or comments? Yes, we just got a film recommendation, The Dirty Fish.
I have a question. It's about the people who are not from Europe, and if they would like to apply for this summer camp, how they will get the visa? Like, is there will be any kind of support for them to get the visa, or it will be just, I mean, like support with in terms of paperwork and not in terms, of course, of the money. But yeah,
If you're interested to join the summer camp, you can definitely get in contact with us and we will look at it together. So, yes.
and how much is it, if I may ask?
So, to cover all the costs of accommodation and food and the trips you want to make, we plan to have the price will be about 475 euros. However, for people that have trouble financing this, we will also offer scholarships and reduced prices.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. That's really great. And yes, you already gave the information. But may I ask also to if it's possible to share this presentation with us, or at least the headlines of it, so we can go back for this as a follow-up email. It will be amazing, at least for the
We will
people who
send-
are registered. Yes.
Good. Okay. Thank you a lot for joining and for your input. I think that's it.
And we hope to meet you again in July in person here in Twente.
Yes.